Imagine for a moment that everything you desire is already within your reach. So close. It is pressing against the door of your awareness, waiting for you to open. It is pressing against the door of your awareness, waiting for you to open. The only reason it feels distant is because you've been searching outside for what has always been inside. Tonight I want to reveal to you the secret that turns delay into speed, hesitation into certainty, and longing into possession. If you knew this secret, truly knew it, you would manifest your desires faster than you ever thought possible. 1. The door to the secret. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You are standing before a locked door. Behind it lies everything you have ever wanted. Every dream, every longing, every unanswered prayer. The career, the love, the health, the wealth, the freedom, the peace. It is all there waiting. You can feel it pressing from the other side as if the door itself trembles with the weight of your desires. You stretch out your hand to open it, but your fingers freeze. For years, perhaps your entire life, you've been told the key is missing, or worse, that the door is not yours to open. And so you stand in front of it, yearning, waiting, hoping, believing that someday, if you are patient, if you are lucky, it may open for you. But here is the truth that shakes the ground beneath your feet. The door is not locked. It has never been locked. The only barrier between you and your desire is the belief that you must wait. And once you see through that lie, the door swings open with effortless grace. You are here because you sense this truth. Deep down, you have always felt there was more to life than what your eyes show you. You have glimpsed in fleeting moments that reality bends not to chance but to consciousness. You have tasted the strange power of a thought that comes true, a dream that becomes flesh, a silent wish that suddenly walks into your life. And tonight we will not tiptoe around that mystery. Tonight we will confront it, uncover it, and claim it. Because there is a secret, an unshakable, undeniable truth that separates those who wait for life to happen from those who command life to obey. A secret that collapses time, dissolves obstacles, and brings your desires into form with astonishing speed. If you knew this secret, truly knew it, you would never again beg, hope, or plead. You would never again bow before delay. You would never again hand your power to circumstances, to people, or to chance. The great tragedy of humanity is not lack of talent or lack of opportunity, but lack of awareness. People wander the earth like kings who have forgotten their crowns, like heirs who starve beside overflowing treasure, because they have been blinded by the illusion that life is something done to them, rather than something issuing from them. But the moment you awaken, the moment you dare to lift the veil, you discover that reality is not fixed. It is fluid. It is clay in your hands, ready to be shaped by the fire of your inner conviction. Think of it. How many times have you felt powerless, as though the universe had conspired against you? How many nights have you lain awake, replaying the same fears, the same disappointments, the same doubts? And yet, even in those nights, your imagination never stopped working. You replayed the pain so vividly that it painted your future. Without realizing it, you were creating, not consciously, not with intention, but nonetheless creating. You see, creation never sleeps. It answers always, whether you direct it toward joy or despair. This is why the secret must be revealed. Because until you know it, you are like a sculptor who does not know that the chisel is in his hand. You will strike blindly, shaping your life without purpose, and then call it fate. But once you know, once you truly see, everything changes. You are no longer the victim of circumstance. You become the master of it. Now let me be clear, this secret is not about wishful thinking. It is not about idly daydreaming, crossing your fingers or waiting for miracles to fall from the sky. No, it is about awakening to the hidden law by which the entire universe operates. It is about understanding that your inner state, the thoughts you harbor, the feelings you nurture, the assumptions you dare to hold, becomes the outer world you walk through. Do you feel the gravity of that truth? Let it sink in. Because once you see it, life is never the same. Suddenly every word you speak, every picture you hold in mind, every emotion you allow becomes sacred. You begin to understand that nothing is neutral. Every inner movement carries the seed of an outer result. And the faster you grasp this, the faster your world bends to meet your desire. Look around you. Everything you see began as thought. The chair you sit on, the building you inhabit, the technology in your hand, all of it was once invisible, living only in the unseen world of imagination. And yet here it is, solid, undeniable. If this is true of inventions, of art, of music, of every creation humanity has ever brought forth, why would it not be true of your personal desires? Why should love, success, freedom, or health be any different? The same law governs all. The urgency of this moment is simple. You have been living as though you must wait for permission. Permission from society, from money, from timing, from other people, from the stars themselves. But the only permission you ever needed is the permission you give yourself to assume, to feel, to claim your desire as already accomplished. This is the beginning of mastery. This is the beginning of acceleration. I want you to feel this truth not as theory but as a living reality pressing on your soul right now. Picture your greatest desire. See it in your mind's eye as though it were complete. Not tomorrow, not months from now, but now. Can you sense the shift? That small flicker of excitement, that spark of recognition, is your spirit whispering, this is possible. This is yours. And if that whisper is possible, then the roar of certainty is inevitable. If only you are willing to cross the threshold. Tonight the veil will be lifted. Tonight you will be shown how to take that spark and fan it into a flame, so bright that reality itself cannot resist, reshaping around it. The world outside may tell you to be patient, to lower your expectations, to accept but I tell you, the moment you claim your desire inwardly, you set in motion forces that move faster than you can imagine. The question is no longer, can it happen? The question is, will you dare to believe it now? And so we stand at the edge of the mystery. The door before you has never been locked. Your hand is already on the handle. The only question left is whether you will turn it. Because once you do, once you step through, you will discover the secret that bends time, rewrites your story, and brings your desire rushing into form. And that is where we must go next. 2. The illusion of time. Think about this. How many times have you said, one day it will happen. Someday when the timing is right, my life will change. We are trained from childhood to believe that time holds the key to our destiny. That life unfolds in a straight line and our dreams wait for us somewhere in the distant future. But what if that entire idea is the greatest illusion you have ever accepted? What if time is not the guardian of your desires, but the thief that convinces you to wait for what is already yours? I want you to feel this in your bones. Time is not the distance between you and your dream. Time is only the distance between belief and assumption. Picture a seed. When planted in the earth, you do not say, someday this will be a tree if the universe allows it. No. You know it already contains within it the certainty of a tree. You water it, you nurture it, and you live in the quiet knowing that the tree already exists in potential. The only difference between the seed and the tree is the unfolding of what was already complete. So it is with your desires. They already exist. They are complete in the invisible realm, waiting for your recognition. But because you believe time must deliver them, you hand over your power to a calendar, a clock, or the approval of other people. And in doing so, you create delay where none was necessary. Consider this. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself living the life you desire, whether it is love, success, freedom, or health, you can feel it now. The moment you imagine it with conviction, time collapses. For in your inner world, the experience is immediate. You can smell the fragrance, hear the sounds, touch the reality. Your body responds as if it were true now. Why then do you deny the truth of that inner experience and instead wait for the slow march of hours and days to convince you? Let me tell you a story. A man once longed for freedom from a life of hardship. He told himself again and again, one day things will be better. One day I will escape this struggle. Years passed. The calendar turned, but nothing changed. Why? Because every time he said one day, he was pushing his desire further into the distance. His faith was not in the reality of the desire, but in the waiting. And so the waiting became his only experience. Contrast this with another man, who in the silence of his room decided, I am free now. He closed his eyes, and though his outer world was unchanged, he lived inwardly as though the freedom was already his. He walked with a new posture. He spoke with a new certainty. He carried himself as though no chains existed. And what happened? The outer world rearranged to match the inner reality. Doors opened. Opportunities appeared. And what once seemed impossible became natural. He did not wait for time to bring him freedom. He dissolved time by assuming it now. This is the power of understanding that time is an illusion. The outer world always lags behind the inner conviction. What you assume inwardly today, you will walk through outwardly tomorrow. But if you insist on waiting for tomorrow to confirm it, you will forever remain in the waiting. I must emphasize, this does not mean you deny the unfolding of events in the outer world. Just as the seed grows into the tree through stages, your life may appear to unfold in steps. But here is the secret. Those steps are not the cause of your manifestation. They are the effect. The cause was your assumption in the timeless realm of imagination. The outer stages are simply the shadow of what is already complete. Do not fall into the trap of thinking, because I cannot see it yet, it is not mine. That is like planting a seed and then digging it up every morning to see if it has sprouted. In doing so, you destroy it. Trust the unseen. Trust the now. Think of a dream you had while asleep. In that dream, time did not operate as it does here. Hours of experience could pass in moments. Places shifted instantly. Desires appeared the moment they were felt. That dream world is not separate from you. It is a glimpse of the truth. Consciousness is not bound by clock. Consciousness is immediate. Creation is immediate. Time exists only to give structure to the unfolding of what you already hold within. This means the delay between desire and manifestation is not determined by the universe. It is determined by you. The moment you stop postponing, the moment you cease saying someday, and instead claim now, you shorten the distance to zero. For in truth there is no distance at all. You may ask, but if this is so, why do I not see it instant? And I tell you, because your senses are addicted to time. Your eyes demand proof. Your ears crave evidence. Your reason insists on sequence. But your imagination does not. Your imagination knows no distance, no waiting, no impossibility. And it is imagination, not reason, that creates reality. When you truly grasp this, you become dangerous to limitation, because you no longer play by the world's rules of waiting, struggling, or hoping. You live in the eternal present, where everything is already finished. And from that place, manifestation comes not with effort, but with flow. So I ask you now, where in your life have you been delaying yourself with the excuse of time? Where have you said, someday when I have the money, someday when I meet the right person, someday when I am ready? Can you see that someday is the greatest lie? Can you see that every someday is a wall you have built between yourself and your desire? Tear down that wall, replace someday with now, feel the desire as present, live as though the time of fulfillment is not coming, but already here, and watch how quickly the outer world scrambles to reflect your certainty. Because once you dissolve the illusion of time, you realize the only reality is the eternal now. Everything exists in it. Everything is contained within it. And when you choose to dwell in it consciously, you set yourself free from delay forever. And this is where we must go next, into the living secret that collapses time completely. The power of assumption. 3. The secret of assumption. There comes a moment in every life where the heart whispers, what if I already had it? That fleeting thought is the crack in the wall of limitation. The glimpse of a truth so powerful it can rewrite your entire destiny. For the secret that collapses time, the secret that unlocks the door you once thought was sealed shut, is this: assumption. Not hope, not wishful thinking, not waiting. Assumption. To assume is to clothe yourself in the reality of your desire before the world has any evidence of it. It is to walk, speak, breathe, and live as though your wish is already fulfilled. When you assume, you do not beg life to deliver. You declare that it already has. You shift from seeking into being, and that shift is the engine of manifestation. Imagine a great actor stepping onto a stage. The lights rise, the curtain lifts, and before your eyes he becomes a king, a warrior, or a poet. Though it is only a role, the transformation is complete. His gestures, his voice, his very presence convince you that the character is alive. Why? Because he has assumed it. He has entered into it so fully that you believe. Now ask yourself, what if you lived with that same devotion? Not to a character, but to the version of yourself that already possesses what you desire. Assumption is the rehearsal of reality. It is the inner performance that convinces your subconscious of what is true. And once the subconscious accepts it, the world cannot help but echo it. Let me paint this more vividly. Suppose a woman longs for love. She waits for someone to appear, believing time or luck will bring her joy. But another woman who knows the secret does not wait. She goes within, and every night before sleep she assumes the feeling of being cherished. She imagines the warmth of a hand in hers, hears the laughter of shared moments, feels the safety of being chosen. She allows herself to dwell in that reality until it becomes natural. And soon the outer world bends to reflect it. Not because she chased it, but because she assumed it. Do you see the difference? One waits for the world to move first. The other moves within and lets the world catch up. The danger of ignoring this secret is that you are always assuming something, whether consciously or not. If you assume lack, you live lack. If you assume rejection, you live rejection. If you assume delay, you live delay. The world outside is a mirror held to your inner conviction. This is why you cannot afford to leave your assumptions to chance. You must choose them deliberately. Now some will say, but isn't assumption just pretending? And here lies the subtle beauty of the secret. Pretending is shallow, but assumption is conviction. Pretending says, this is not real, but I will act as though it is. Assumption says, this is real, because I have chosen it to be. Pretending keeps the desire at arm's length. Assumption absorbs it into your identity. Think of a child at play. When a child declares, I am a superhero, he does not pretend. He runs, leaps, and fights imaginary foes with the absolute conviction that he is what he claims. In his world, the cape makes him invincible. That is assumption in its purest form. The tragedy is that as we grow older, we lose that childlike power. We call it imagination and dismiss it, not realizing it was the very tool of creation. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are, and what you are is determined by what you assume. If you assume wealth, you carry yourself with the posture of abundance. You make choices from the identity of someone who already has, and life mirrors that assumption with opportunities, ideas, and resources. If you assume success, you radiate confidence and people respond. If you assume love, your presence invites connection. Assumption is not an outer effort. It is an inner rest. It is not about forcing circumstances, but about surrendering to the reality that already exists within you. You rest in it so completely that the world has no choice but to comply. But here lies the challenge. Assumption requires courage. It demands that you believe in the unseen more than in appearances. It asks you to trust the inner conviction over the outer evidence. And that is where most falter. They assume for a moment, but then look around and say, nothing has changed. And in that instant, they return to doubt. Yet the law is clear. What you assume consistently becomes what you experience. The outer may lag, but it cannot resist. Your role is not to chase results, but to persist in the state of fulfillment until it hardens into fact. Let us go deeper. When you assume, you are not creating something new. You are selecting from infinite realities. Every possibility already exists in the eternal now. Your assumption is the act of choosing which reality you will occupy. When you feel the wish fulfilled, you step into the timeline where that reality is true. And because consciousness is the only cause, the outer world must rearrange to match it. Does this not ignite a fire within you? To realize that you are not waiting on chance, not bound by fate, not limited by time, but free to choose, free to assume, free to become. If you want to test this, start small. Tonight before sleep, assume something simple. The feeling of hearing good news or the satisfaction of being complimented. Let that feeling carry you into slumber. Then watch how swiftly the outer world bends to provide you with the echo of that inner state. This is not coincidence. This is law. And once you prove it to yourself, in small ways, you will dare to assume greater things. Health restored, relationships healed, wealth flowing, doors opening. The key is not effort, but assumption. Now I must leave you with this. The secret of assumption is not meant to remain hidden in your mind. It must be practiced, lived, breathed. The world is full of those who hear truth and nod but never apply. But the ones who dare to assume consistently, courageously, joyfully, they are the ones who watch the impossible melt into the ordinary. So I ask you, what will you assume tonight? What identity will you claim? Will you continue to assume lack, fear, and wait? Or will you assume the joy of fulfillment and let the universe bow to your conviction? Because the moment you dare to assume, you step onto the stage of your own destiny as its author, not its victim. And this leads us to the next great truth. If assumption is the secret, then imagination is the theater in which it is performed. Let us step into that inner theater now and discover how to make assumption vivid, alive, and irresistible. For the inner theater, close your eyes just for a moment and imagine this. A vast theater, silent and dim. The stage empty, waiting. The seats are filled only with your own thoughts, your doubts, your hopes, your fears. The curtain is down and all is still, but you, yes you, are not the audience. You are the playwright, the director, the lead actor. This is your inner theater. And it is here on this stage, in this silence, that the entire drama of your life is written. You may believe that your story is written out there, in the world of events and circumstances. But I tell you with certainty, it is written here, in imagination, long before it ever takes form. The outer world is only the stage set, the costume, the prop. The true performance begins in the unseen world of your inner vision. Understand this and you unlock the most powerful instrument you possess. Ignore it and you remain a passive spectator in a play you did not choose. The inner theater is not fantasy. It is creation. Every time you imagine vividly, you are rehearsing reality. You are planting seeds in the soil of consciousness, and those seeds will bloom whether you are aware of it or not. That is why the careless use of imagination breeds lives of quiet despair, and why the deliberate use of imagination births miracles. Think back to a time when you worried deeply about something. You saw it play out in your mind again and again. Perhaps you imagined rejection, failure, loss. And didn't it feel real? Didn't your body respond with tension? Your heart with heaviness? Your breath with unease? That was the power of your inner theater in action. And if worry can summon such power, imagine what joy, success, and fulfillment can do when rehearsed with equal conviction. The secret is this. The subconscious does not distinguish between imagination and fact. It accepts what you feed it through repeated, vivid assumption. If you present it with lack, it accepts lack. If you present it with wealth, it accepts wealth. It does not argue, it simply receives and then commands the world outside to align. So let us enter this theater consciously. Let us step onto its stage with intention. Close your eyes and see the life you long for, not as a faint wish but as a living play. If it is love you desire, imagine the scene that would most imply its fulfillment, perhaps a wedding ring on your hand, or the sound of someone whispering, "I love you." If it is success, see the congratulatory handshake, or hear the words, "You've done it." If it is freedom, feel the lightness in your body as though the chains have already fallen. Make the scene short, make it vivid, and most of all, make it filled with feeling. Do not watch it as a spectator. Step into it. Feel the wood of the stage beneath your feet, the air in your lungs, the voice in your throat. The more real it becomes in imagination, the faster it hardens into fact. But let me warn you, this theater does not close when you walk away. Every idle thought, every casual assumption, every repeated fear is also a scene. The question is not whether you are imagining. You are always imagining. The question is, what play are you directing? Are you rehearsing triumph or tragedy? Are you writing joy or sorrow? Once you grasp this, you will never again take imagination lightly. You will guard it as you would guard your life, because in truth it is your life. Now consider this. The greatest actors do not simply repeat lines. They become the character. They live it until there is no separation between actor and role. In the same way, the art of the inner theater is to embody the state you desire until it becomes natural. This is not forced effort. It is surrender. It is allowing the assumption to so saturate your mind that it feels inevitable. A woman once practiced this. Each night she imagined receiving a letter that confirmed her greatest dream. She did not see the entire story, only the letter, her hands opening it, her eyes filling with joy. She rehearsed this scene night after night until it felt real. And then, without effort, the letter came. Not because she forced it, but because she had written it in her inner theater, and life had no choice but to play along. This is the miracle of imagination. It is rehearsal that becomes performance, seed that becomes harvest, shadow that becomes substance. And the more vivid the rehearsal, the faster the outer world bends to accommodate it. But here is the subtle truth. The inner theater is not about escaping reality. It is about creating it. If you use imagination only to run away from your circumstances, you remain trapped. But if you use it to assume the higher state as your true reality, the lower you are not fleeing, you are transforming. And when you begin to live from this place, life itself becomes a stage. Every conversation becomes a line in the play you have already rehearsed. Every encounter is a scene you have already chosen. The world becomes less random, less hostile, less chaotic, and more like a mirror reflecting your inner vision. Can you see why this matters so deeply? Can you feel the urgency of mastering this art? For if you do not, others will write your play for you, your past, your fears, your environment, your doubts. But if you seize the pen, If you step onto the stage of your imagination as its author, then nothing can stop the unfolding of the life you choose. So tonight, as you rest your head on your pillow, do not drift into unconscious worry. Enter your theater with intention. Write your play. Perform your role. Let the curtain of sleep rise on the scene of your fulfillment. And when you awake, carry the memory of that play with you, until the day it no longer feels like imagination but fact. Because once you have mastered the inner theater, you have mastered the very machinery of creation. And now, having stepped into the theater of imagination, we must discover the hidden element that gives these scenes their power, the one force that turns a lifeless picture into living reality. 5. Feeling the bridge to reality. Stop for a moment and consider this. What makes a dream so haunting that you remember it for days? It is not the picture. It is not the picture. It is not the setting. It is the feeling. The fear that made your pulse race. The joy that made you laugh in your sleep. The sadness that left your eyes wet when you woke. Feeling makes it real. Without feeling, a dream is only a shadow. With feeling, it becomes an experience that lives in your body, your breath, your bones. And the same is true of imagination. You can picture anything: castles in the sky, riches in your hand, love at your door, but if it is cold, lifeless, without emotion, it remains only a picture. But when you clothe that picture in deep, authentic feeling, you set fire to it, you animate it, you breathe life into it. And that life cannot remain contained in imagination. It must express itself outwardly in form. Feeling is the bridge. Feeling is the spark. Feeling is the invisible hand that carries a scene from the inner world into the outer. Think of it this way: if imagination is the seed, then feeling is the water that makes it grow. A seed left on a shelf does nothing. A seed planted but never watered withers away. But a seed nourished daily with water will break the soil, reach toward the sun, and bear fruit in its season. Your imagined scenes are no different. Without feeling, they remain buried. With feeling, they become inevitable. Let me ask you, when was the last time you felt the end of your desire so deeply that your heart swelled as though it had already happened? Not a passing wish, not a desperate longing, but a quiet, profound conviction that it is done. That moment, if you've ever tasted it, is the bridge. I once met a man who longed for freedom from a burden he thought impossible to lift. Every night he rehearsed the picture of his life without it. At first it felt empty, mechanical, like a stage play he didn't believe in. But then one night he allowed himself not just to see but to feel. He felt the relief of being free, the joy of breathing without weight, the gratitude that surged in his chest. He wept not from despair, but from release. And that night was the turning point. Within weeks, his outer world shifted in ways he could never have forced by action alone. Why? Because he had crossed the bridge of feeling. Here is the truth. Your body, your senses, your subconscious mind respond not to words or images alone, but to the emotional charge behind them. Say to yourself 1,000 times, I am successful, with no conviction and nothing moves. Say it once with the deep feeling of triumph, and the world begins to stir. Do you see now why so many fail at creating the life they want? They imagine weakly, half-heartedly, as though testing a picture in a shop window. They hope, but they do not feel. And so their desires remain far away, like unreachable stars. But when you dare to feel, when you dare to let the emotion of fulfillment sweep over you, you collapse the distance, you bring the star into your hand. Feeling is not about forcing emotion. It is about surrendering to it. It is about allowing yourself to sink so deeply into the state you desire that your heart, your nerves, your very breath begin to believe. If love is your aim, then feel cherished. If success is your aim, then feel accomplished. If freedom is your aim, then feel the exhilaration of release. At first, your mind may resist. It may whisper, but this isn't true. Pay it no attention, for the subconscious does not require proof. It requires feeling. And once it accepts the feeling as reality, life itself conspires to prove it true. Understand this. You do not create by effort. You create by assumption. You do not manifest by struggle. You manifest by embodying the state emotionally. Effort pushes the dream away. Feeling draws it near. Effort says one day. Feeling says now. Let me share a vision with you. Imagine a bridge suspended over a vast chasm. On one side stands your current life. Ordinary, heavy, bound by circumstances. On the other side stands the life you long for, radiant, free, fulfilled. Words alone will not carry you across. Images alone will not carry you across. Action without belief will exhaust you and still leave you stranded. But the bridge of feeling, step onto that and the chasm disappears beneath your feet. One by one your steps solidify into stone until you stand firmly on the other side. This is why the ancients spoke of faith, not as blind belief, but as the substance of things hoped for. Feeling is that substance. It is the invisible certainty that clothes your desire with reality before your eyes ever see it. And so I urge you tonight, do not merely think of your dream, do not merely watch it in your mind's eye as a distant play. Step into it, touch it, taste it. Let your heart beat as though it were already yours. Let your breath quicken with gratitude. Let your body respond as though it were fact. For the moment you do, you have crossed the bridge. Perhaps you wonder, but what if I feel the end and nothing happens? My answer is simple. Keep feeling, for just as water must soak the soil before a seed breaks through, so must feeling soak your imagination until the subconscious accepts it fully. You may not see movement at once, but the unseen roots are growing, spreading, reaching, and when the moment is ripe, the fruit will burst forth. Feeling is the great secret, not the cold repetition of words, not the idle daydreaming of pictures, but the warm living experience of already being the one you desire to be. Master this, and nothing will be withheld from you. So tonight as you close your eyes, let feeling be your prayer. Let it be your song, your anchor, your bridge. Rest not in wishful thinking, but in the joy of already done. And as you wake tomorrow, carry that feeling with you as a cloak. Do not wait for evidence, become the evidence. For when feeling and imagination unite, nothing in heaven or on earth can prevent their expression. And now, having crossed this bridge, we must ask, what happens when the world does not yet reflect our inner assumption? How do we hold fast to feeling when the outer picture tempts us to doubt? That is where the discipline of faithful persistence begins. 6. Faithful persistence. Picture this. You stand at the edge of a vast desert. You know that on the other side lies an oasis, a place of shade, water and abundance. You have imagined it, you have felt it, you have seen it so vividly in your mind that your heart knows it exists. But the moment you take your first steps into the desert, the sand stretches endlessly, the sun beats down, and not a drop of water is in sight. This is the moment most people turn back. Not because the oasis does not exist, but because they mistake delay for denial. They confuse silence with emptiness. They allow the outer picture to blind them to the truth of what they have already planted within. But let me tell you, the desert is only a test of persistence. The oasis has already been called into being the moment you felt it real. The path may be long, the air may be dry, but if you keep walking with certainty, you will arrive. Persistence is the secret ingredient that makes imagination and feeling unshakable. Without persistence, the strongest vision fades like a dream in daylight. Without persistence, feelings are swallowed up by circumstance. But with persistence, even the fiercest doubt dissolves. You see, persistence is not desperate striving. It is not clinging with fear. Persistence is quiet faith, an unwavering decision to return again and again to the state of the wish fulfilled, no matter what the world screams back at you. Have you ever watched a child learning to walk? They fall 100 times and still they rise again. Why? Because they hold within themselves a persistence greater than the evidence of their failure. If they judged reality by what they saw, they would quit at the first stumble. But persistence keeps them moving until the act of walking becomes natural. And so it is with you. Each time you return to your inner state, you train your spirit to walk in a new reality. At first you may stumble, doubt may knock you down, circumstances may whisper, it isn't worth it. But if you persist, if you keep rising, one day you will find yourself walking naturally in the very life you once only imagined. Think of a sculptor. The block of marble in front of him is hard, unyielding, lifeless to the eye. But he does not walk away. He persists, stroke by stroke, cut by cut. He chips away until the form inside reveals itself. Persistence makes visible what was always hidden. Your life is that block of marble. Your imagination already contains the masterpiece. Persistence is the hand that releases. I recall a man who set his heart on transforming his circumstances. At first he felt the thrill of imagination. He saw himself in his desired state, alive with possibility. But weeks passed, and nothing shifted. The world around him looked stubborn, unchanged. Most would have abandoned the practice, but he chose persistence. Every morning he entered the silence. Every night he walked in the vision of his desire fulfilled. He did not allow the outer world to dictate his inner state. And then in a single moment, life rearranged itself. A door opened where before there was only a wall. The transformation came suddenly, but only because he had persisted long enough for the invisible to harden into fact. Do not underestimate the power of steady, patient faith. The world tempts you to measure progress by outer evidence, but the true measure is inner alignment. Each time you persist in assuming your desire fulfilled, you are watering the unseen roots, and though you cannot yet see the fruit, the roots grow strong beneath the surface. Ask yourself, are you willing to persist even when nothing appears to move? Are you willing to stand in faith even when the evidence mocks you? For that is the moment where dreams are won or lost. Consider the farmer. He plants in spring, yet he does not dig up the seed each morning to check if it is growing. He persists in watering, persists in waiting, persists in trusting the invisible process. He knows that in time the harvest will appear. Should you treat your imagination with less reverence? Persistence means you refuse to let appearances rule you. When the world says no, you return inward and declare yes. When time drags on, you remind yourself that delay is not denial. When fear whispers, you silence it with vision. This is the quiet power of the persistent soul. It bends reality not by force but by faith. And persistence is not passive. It is alive, vibrant, steadfast. It is the decision to choose the unseen over the seen, again and again, until the unseen becomes visible. Many quit because they think persistence feels heavy, but persistence is not heaviness. It is freedom. For when you persist, you free yourself from the tyranny of circumstances. You declare, I will not be ruled by what is temporary. I will be ruled by what is eternal within me. Understand this. Persistence does not mean repeating the same prayer with desperation. It means resting in the assurance that your prayer is already answered. And when the outer world tempts you to doubt, you return to the inner reality as often as needed. Persistence is love in action. Love for the vision you have conceived. Just as a mother does not abandon her child at the first sign of difficulty, so you must not abandon your dream when challenges appear. You carry it, nurture it, protect it, until it is born into the light of day. And here lies the great paradox. The moment you persist with quiet faith, you often need less effort in the outer world. The right doors open, the right people appear, the right opportunities unfold, because your inner persistence has already carved the path. So tonight decide this. I will persist. No matter how long it takes, no matter what storms may rise, I will return again and again to the end I have seen. For I know that persistence is the law that bridges imagination with reality. Now let us go one step further, for persistence is powerful, but there is an even deeper secret hidden beneath it. It is the mystery of surrender, of letting go of the struggle and resting in the certainty that it is already done. And that, my friends, is where we must now journey. 7. The power of surrender. There comes a moment in every great journey when striving must cease. You have imagined, you have felt, you have persisted, but now a greater key is demanded, the power of surrender. Without surrender, your effort becomes a weight that drags you down. With surrender, your desire flows to you as naturally as a river to the sea. Think of the seed once more. After it has been planted, after it has been watered, there is a moment when the farmer does not touch it again. He does not pry open the soil each morning, demanding, grow now. No, he surrenders to the process. He trusts that what is being planted will unfold. The farmer rests because he knows the laws of growth cannot fail. So it is with the dream you carry inside you. Once you've imagined it, once you have felt it, once you have persisted in faith, you must release it into the unseen currents of life. Not with anxiety, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. For the more you grasp and cling, the more you strangle the very thing you desire. The moment you let go, you open the way for it to appear. Surrender does not mean giving up. It does not mean abandoning your vision. It means laying down the restless struggle of trying to force reality, and instead resting in the knowing that what you have claimed within is already yours. Imagine a bird taking flight. It does not wrestle with the wind. It rides it. Its wings are not straining against the current. They are lifted by it. That is surrender, aligning yourself with the invisible current of life, rather than fighting against it. There is a story of a man lost at sea, clinging desperately to a piece of wood. His arms ached, his breath weakened, his body trembled. He was certain he would sink if he let go. But the truth unknown to him was that the water itself could hold him if he allowed it. When his strength finally gave out and his grip loosened, instead of sinking, he floated. He discovered that surrender had saved him where effort could not. Many of you are still clinging to your desires with the same desperation. You imagine, but then you demand immediate evidence. You feel, but then you measure progress by the clock. You persist, but you clutch the outcome so tightly that no room is left for life to deliver it. My friends, let go. Rest in the certainty that your unseen seed is alive. Trust the current that is carrying you. Float, and you will not sink. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. For only the strong can release their grip and rest in faith. Only the courageous can stop struggling and trust the unseen hand that governs all things. Do you see? The outer world is like a mirror. If you stand before it impatient, demanding that it change, nothing happens. But if you quietly assume the state within and then rest, the mirror has no choice but to reflect what you are. Let me make this practical. Tonight when you lie down to sleep, take your desire into imagination one last time. Feel it as though it were already yours. Let the joy of its fulfillment sink deep into you, and then release it. Fall asleep not in longing but in possession. Do not wake tomorrow morning and ask, where is it? Wake as though it is done. Walk your day in quiet confidence. Smile not because the evidence has appeared yet, but because you know it must. That is surrender. But here is the mystery. Surrender is not passive. It is active trust. It requires you to stand guard at the door of your mind, refusing to pick up the heavy chains of worry again. It requires you to silence the voice that says, what if it doesn't happen? And answer with certainty, it already has. Surrender turns desire into inevitability. It is the act of handing over the how and the when to the wisdom of life itself. The seed knows how to grow. The river knows how to find the sea. The sun knows how to rise. And your desire knows how to clothe itself in form. But none of these things can be rushed by human hand. They unfold in perfect rhythm. And so the one who surrenders is never restless. They are calm in waiting, joyful in expectation, unshaken by appearances. They walk through the desert with the oasis already alive in their heart. They carry the fragrance of victory before the battle has even begun. Ask yourself, are you willing to let go of your grip? Are you willing to rest in the unseen, trusting that what you have conceived must be born? For surrender is the final seal, the quiet amen to your inner prayer. It is easy to surrender when all is going well. The challenge is to surrender when the night is long, when the silence is deep, when the outer world mocks your faith. Yet it is in that very moment that surrender has its greatest power. For when you refuse to wrestle with appearances and instead rest in your conviction, you prove yourself to be master of your reality. Let this truth sink into you. Life delivers most swiftly when you stop chasing and start trusting. The river does not chase the sea, it flows to it. The flower does not chase the sun, it opens to it. And you too must open yourself with quiet confidence, allowing what you have already claimed to flow toward you. So I ask you now, are you willing to surrender? Are you willing to lay down the heavy armor of doubt, the restless demand for proof, and rest in the joy of already fulfilled desire? For in that moment the invisible becomes unstoppable. And yet there is still another step. For once you have surrendered, once you have rested in faith, you must live as though it were already true. You must embody the state you have claimed, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. And that is where we journey next. Have you ever stood on the edge of a great decision, your heart pounding, your mind racing as if all of existence itself were waiting on your choice? That moment is not small. It is monumental. It is the meeting place of the invisible and the visible, the inner and the outer, the imagined and the experienced. And in that instant, whether you recognize it or not, you are shaping your destiny. Life is not asking you to wait for the perfect condition. It is not waiting for the economy to shift, for people to finally recognize your worth, or for some external blessing to descend upon you. Life is asking one thing only. Will you dare to step into the unseen with full conviction? Because here is the truth that shakes the foundations of mediocrity. Your world bends to the intensity of your inner assumption. The outer is only a mirror, and like all mirrors, it waits for the reflection you choose to cast upon it. Think for a moment of a sculptor facing a block of raw marble. To the untrained eye, it is just stone solid, ordinary, immovable. But in the mind of the sculptor, the masterpiece already lives. Every strike of the chisel, every patient cut, is guided not by what the marble appears to be, but by the image the sculptor already sees within. That is the way of creation. That is the way of life. Your circumstances may look like unshaped stone, heavy and unyielding. But within them lies infinite potential. The form you long for, the success, the freedom, the love, the peace, already exists within the block. The question is, do you have the courage to see it before the world sees it? Too often we live like prisoners of appearances. We look at the facts and we bow to them as though they are kings. We look at the bank account and declare ourselves poor. We look at the doctor's report and declare ourselves sick. We look at rejection and declare ourselves unworthy. But facts are not final. They are simply echoes of old states, shadows of what you once believed. The deeper law whispers a higher truth. Change your state and the facts will follow. I once knew a man who lived in quiet despair, convinced that his life was destined to be ordinary. He worked tirelessly but always beneath the weight of limitation. To him, opportunities were for others, not for himself. Until one day, standing at the window of his modest home, he made a choice. He decided to see himself differently. Not as a man trapped by circumstance, but as one already living in the reality he longed for. Each night before sleep, he would close his eyes and step into that vision. He walked the halls of the office he did not yet own, shook hands with the people he had not yet met, and felt the satisfaction of accomplishments not yet visible. To the world nothing had changed, but within him everything had shifted. Months passed, and slowly, as though drawn by an unseen magnet, doors began to open. Ideas came, connections arrived, resources appeared, until one day the man found himself living in the very reality he had once only dared to assume. His life became the proof that imagination is not fantasy, it is creation. This is not superstition. It is not blind hope. It is law. Your inner world, your assumptions, your sustained focus. These are the chisels that carve your marble. The moment you dare to feel yourself already in possession of what you desire, life bends itself to meet you. It does not argue, it does not resist. It simply reflects. But here lies the challenge. You must remain faithful. You must resist the temptation to abandon the unseen, because the visible does not yet comply. For the visible is always late. It is the shadow, not the soul. Ask yourself now, what image am I sculpting in silence? What reality am I rehearsing when no one is watching? For whatever you are faithful to inwardly, whether noble or unworthy, whether joyful or despairing, will appear in your life with perfect accuracy. You cannot escape it, you cannot outrun it. Life delivers to you the harvest of your inner conviction. And so if you find yourself in a season of lack, do not curse the field, change the seed. If you find yourself in a season of struggle, do not fight the shadow, turn to the light. For every shadow bends the moment you change the direction of your inner gaze. Let us be clear. This power is not a distant promise, reserved for the holy or the chosen few. It is here. It is yours. It is as near to you as your breath, as intimate as your heart. When you sit quietly and dare to imagine a new reality, not as a wish, not as a fragile hope, but as a living fact, you are planting the seed of your future. And when you water it with faith, when you nourish it with persistence, when you protect it from the weeds of doubt and fear, it cannot fail to bear fruit. But hear me well, the fruit will come in its season. You cannot demand the harvest before the seed has taken root. Patience is not weakness. It is proof of strength. To persist in the unseen while the visible denies you, that is the measure of mastery. So tonight, when you close your eyes, will you collapse into the weight of yesterday's facts? Or will you rise into the glory of tomorrow's vision? Will you allow yourself to be a prisoner of appearances? Or will you walk boldly into the unseen, knowing it is more real than what your senses now report? This is the choice. This is the invitation. This is the threshold upon which all transformation stands. The world is not waiting for your circumstances to improve. The world is waiting for you to awaken to who you truly are. The sculptor, not the stone. And so let this truth settle deep within you. You are not here to observe life. You are here to create. The canvas of reality is stretched out before you, blank, and ready for the colors of your conviction. The marble of possibility waits for the strike of your chisel. The seed of destiny is already in your hand. Will you plant it? Will you shape it? Will you dare to live from the end as though it were already so? Because the moment you do, life will rearrange itself to match your inner picture. It cannot do otherwise. That is the law. And as you walk with this truth, remember what you choose within is sacred. Treat your inner conversations with reverence. Guard your assumptions as though they were treasures. For they are the blueprint of your tomorrow. Live as though it were already done, and soon the world will bow to the reality you have dared to claim. And so I leave you with this thought to carry into the next step of our journey. If your imagination is the seed, and your faith is the soil, then persistence is the sunlight that brings it all to life. And in section 9 we will explore this persistence, not as a burden, not as a struggle, but as the very fire that transforms vision into reality. There comes a moment in every dreamer's journey when the excitement fades, when the fire of inspiration dims, and when doubt whispers, maybe it was never meant for you. That moment when the night feels longest, and the silence of results seems deafening, is a true test of creation. Because the world does not yield to your desire in an instant. It does not bend at the first knock. The universe waits not to die you, but to weigh the strength of your persistence. It asks, will you remain faithful to the unseen when everything visible tells you to give up? Persistence is not glamorous. It is not the thunder of applause, the moment of triumph, or the glow of achievement. No, persistence is quiet, stubborn, and often lonely. It is choosing, again and again, to return in imagination to the reality you claim, even when there is no evidence, no sign, no confirmation. It is watering the seed in the dark, long before the first sprout breaks the soil. It is walking by faith when your senses scream for proof. And it is in that space between planting and harvest that most people surrender. But you must not surrender. Think of the farmer who plants in spring. He covers the seeds with earth, knowing he will not see them for weeks. Every morning he wakes to the same bare soil, the same empty field, the same silence of growth beneath the ground. He cannot see the roots digging deep. He cannot see the seed cracking open, but he knows it is happening. And because he knows, he waits with patience, working with persistence, until the harvest arrives. Now imagine if he dug up the seed every day to check if it had sprouted. Imagine if after a week of silence, he declared, "This is useless," and abandoned the field. Would he ever taste the harvest? Of course not. So why do you, in the field of your own life, dig up the seeds of your dreams with doubt, impatience, and fear? Why do you plant today and curse tomorrow because nothing has yet appeared? Growth takes time, and faith is the bridge that carries you across that time. You see, persistence is not simply repeating the desire, it is remaining in the assumption of its fulfillment, no matter how loudly the world denies it. It is the unshakable stance that says, "It is already mine, I live from the end." Consider the great inventions, the great revolutions, the great works of art. None of them came easily. Each was resisted, doubted, mocked, delayed, and yet through persistence, they emerged into the world. The light bulb did not glow on the first attempt. The masterpiece was not painted in a single stroke. The movement was not won in a single speech. It was persistence, unyielding, tireless, faithful persistence, that carved their place in history. And let us bring this truth closer into your own story. Think of the moments you once thought impossible, but through persistence you now stand on the other side. Perhaps it was a job you thought you would never secure, a relationship you thought would never blossom, a challenge you thought you would never overcome. Yet here you are, proof that persistence is more powerful than appearances. So why would today be any different? Why would the dream you now carry be any less possible than the ones already fulfilled? Here is the secret. Persistence is not about force. It is not about straining, struggling, or exhausting yourself with effort. True persistence is gentle, but relentless. It is the quiet conviction that refuses to shift, no matter the winds. It is like a river. A river does not break the rock by force in a single moment. It wears it down, little by little, through constant flow. And so must you. Flow toward your vision daily. Return to it nightly. Hold it in your mind when doubts creep in. Speak to it in the silence of your heart. Let your persistence carve the path until the stone of resistance is gone. Do not confuse delay with denial. The gap between your assumption and its appearance is not a punishment. It is preparation. In that gap you are being stretched, strengthened, refined. You are learning to trust the unseen more than the seen. For what kind of power would it be if your world bent at the first flicker of thought? No, creation is not fragile. It is firm. It requires you to anchor yourself so deeply in faith that no storm can uproot you. That anchoring is persistence. I tell you, persistence is the language of mastery. It is the difference between the one who quits halfway and the one who crosses the finish line. It is the force that carries you when motivation fades, when inspiration is silent, and when results seem absent. Anyone can believe when the evidence is clear. Anyone can feel victorious when the crown is on their head. But only those who persist in the unseen become the architects of their destiny. So let me ask you, What are you persisting in right now? Because persistence works both ways. If you persist in worry, worry becomes your world. If you persist in fear, fear becomes your prison. If you persist in limitation, limitation becomes your reality. But if you persist in abundance, abundance must come. If you persist in health, health must appear. If you persist in love, love must unfold. Life has no choice but to echo your persistence. Every night as you lay down, you are given the chance to persist. Do not waste those sacred moments rehearsing failure or reliving yesterday's pain. Instead, walk in imagination through the halls of your fulfilled desire. Sit at the table of your success. Breathe the air of your freedom, and do it not once, not twice, but persistently, until your mind accepts it as fact, and the world bows to your assumption. This is not a plea for blind stubbornness. It is a call to conscious persistence, the kind that knows what it wants, claims it inwardly, and refuses to let go until it appears outwardly. The kind that does not waver with every passing storm, but stands firm, rooted in the truth that what you hold in imagination must one day stand in form. And so, my friend, I urge you, do not give up in the silent season. Do not abandon the field before the harvest. Do not let impatience steal your destiny. Remain faithful, persist, because the dream you hold is not fragile. It is waiting for your persistence to call it forth. The life you desire is not distant. It is waiting for your faith to bring it near. And the version of you that you long to become is not imaginary. It is waiting for your persistence to awaken it. And as we turn toward the next step in our journey, we must confront one final truth. Persistence alone is not enough. For persistence without alignment is struggle. To persist effectively, you must align your inner conversations, your assumptions, and your emotions with the end you seek. And in section 10, we will explore this alignment, how to unify your mind and heart so that your persistence becomes effortless and your vision becomes inevitable. 10. Alignment, the final key. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast canyon at dawn. The light has just begun to spill across the cliffs, and somewhere deep below, a river winds silently, unseen but powerful. You know that across the canyon lies everything you have ever desired. Peace, abundance, freedom, love. You can see it in your mind's eye. You have felt it in your heart. You have persisted through storms and silence alike. Yet the canyon remains. The question is, how do you cross? The answer is alignment. Alignment is the bridge that turns persistent dreaming into effortless reality. It is the point where imagination, feeling, and action converge into one unstoppable force. Without alignment, persistence can become struggle, faith can become tension, and desire can become longing. With alignment, the world has no choice but to mirror the inner state you now inhabit. Think of a musician tuning a violin. Each string must resonate perfectly, not one too loose, not one too tight. The bow must glide, the fingers must strike precisely, and only then does the music flow without effort. So too must your inner world be tuned. Every thought, every feeling, every silent assumption must resonate with the truth of your desired reality. Only then does life begin to sing in harmony with you. This is the essence of alignment. It is the conscious act of ensuring that nothing within contradicts what you are claiming without. Your mind, your heart, your imagination, they must all point in the same direction, like a compass pointing unwaveringly toward the north of your fulfilled vision. Imagine a lighthouse standing tall against the storm. Its light does not flicker, its position does not sway, and because of that, sailors far out at sea can navigate safely, guided by its certainty. Alignment within you is like that lighthouse. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are in unison, they become a beacon that draws the circumstances of your vision naturally toward you. But misalignment, the conflict between what you desire and what you feel, acts like a broken compass. No matter how bright the light, the sailors of your life are lost. Your mind may say, I want abundance, while your heart murmurs, it's impossible. Your imagination may rehearse freedom, while your habits speak of limitation. Until all are synchronized, the bridge remains incomplete. Let me illustrate this with a story. There was a woman who longed for a career of creativity and impact. She imagined it every night. She felt it in her chest. She persisted daily with faith and effort. Yet months passed, and her life seemed unchanged. One evening, in a moment of quiet reflection, she realized her inner self was at odds with her vision. She carried fear disguised as prudence, doubt dressed as caution, and hesitation masked as careful planning. The next day she began to change her inner landscape. She spoke to herself, not with caution, but with certainty. She replaced fear with curiosity, doubt with trust, hesitation with decisive imagination. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, opportunities began to appear. The very people and circumstances she had imagined now aligned with her inner state. Within weeks her career blossomed, not because she worked harder, but because she had tuned every part of herself to the truth she wished to live. Alignment is not passive. It is not a meditation alone or a fleeting visualization. It is a total, conscious unification of every layer of your being around a single truth, that your desire exists now, in the invisible, and therefore it must manifest. Every thought that contradicts your assumption weakens it. Every feeling of lack, of fear, of frustration, pulls you away from what you claim. Alignment demands vigilance. It demands courage. It demands the willingness to examine yourself daily, to discard what is not in harmony with the reality you are creating, and to nourish what is. And here lies the beauty. When alignment is achieved, the universe ceases to resist. You do not push. You do not chase. You do not negotiate. Life bends naturally, almost effortlessly, toward the vision you now inhabit within. The river does not need to be forced. It flows to meet you. The seed does not need to be commanded. It blooms. The doors you once knocked on now swing open, drawn to the resonance of your inner state. Consider the example of a master gardener. He does not fight the seasons. He does not curse the rain or command the sun. He works in harmony with the earth, understanding the natural rhythms, planting seeds when the soil is ready, nurturing with patience, and trusting the laws of growth. His garden flourishes, not through force, but through alignment with nature itself. So it is with your life. When your imagination, feeling, and persistence are aligned, you become a master gardener of reality. You sow the seeds of your desires into fertile soil, and the universe becomes the co-creator that allows them to flourish. Alignment also transforms time. When your inner state is in harmony with your vision, the apparent delays of life shrink. The unseen becomes visible more quickly. Doors open at the precise moment. Circumstances bend to your readiness. The outer world is always in perfect correspondence with the inner world, and alignment accelerates this correspondence. It is the difference between walking through life at the pace of struggle and gliding through life at the pace of creation. Alignment makes manifestation effortless because it removes the internal friction that slows the expression of desire. Ask yourself now, are your thoughts, emotions, and actions aligned with what you most deeply desire? Or are there whispers of doubt, fear, or hesitation tugging you backward? True power comes not from wishing, hoping, or even persisting alone. It comes from uniting your entire being behind the certainty of your fulfilled desire. Alignment is the unseen force that turns a dream into reality. It is the secret that accelerates manifestation, that turns persistence into inevitability, and that allows you to live as though your highest vision is already present. Let this final thought settle deep in your heart. You are not separate from what you see. You are not distant from your vision. You are a living magnet for what you assume. When you align every part of yourself with that assumption, the world must reflect it. There is no other outcome possible, and so, step boldly into your alignment. Imagine, feel, persist, and then let every thought, every action, every breath resonate with the truth of what you claim. Live as if it is already done. Speak as if it is already yours. Move as if it cannot be otherwise. For in this alignment lies freedom, power, and joy beyond measure. In this alignment, creation itself bows to your inner certainty. And in this alignment, the life you have imagined so vividly becomes not a distant dream, but the very reality you now inhabit. And with that, we conclude the journey of today's lecture. But the truth remains eternal. Your imagination is the seed. Your feeling is the water. Your persistence is the sun. And your alignment is the soil that brings your reality into being. Step into it now. Step fully. Step with courage. And watch as the world itself moves to meet the vision you have so faithfully held within.